Well, tonight I would like to say a fond farewell to the Barbershop Harmony Society and to explain to my dear friends in the BHS why I no longer desire to be a member. For years, of course, the society existed as a men's barbershop singing organization. Early in its history, it did not act consistent with that message and mission by excluding some men because of their race. Fortunately, the society course corrected and accepted all men as members. The society was part of a barbershop universe that included two international women's organizations, and long before anyone ever used the phrase everyone in harmony, male and female barbershoppers cooperated in many ways, competing against each other at the Buckeye Invitational, shows at Labor Day Jamboree, teaching at countless youth harmony festivals and camps, and at Harmony University. A few years ago, the Society issued a survey to gauge interest in opening membership to women as part of what has come to be known as the Everyone in Harmony initiative. According to the Society's own research background report, the percentage of those who were happy with the male only experience was nearly triple those who were unhappy, 58.5% to 20.8%. Nevertheless, the BHS decided to forge ahead to include women as members, even though there are already two vibrant women's barbershop organizations, as well as a mixed organization. As puzzling as this decision was to me, my feeling was, given the declining membership of the society, it was worth trying something. My reluctant support of this move, however, was totally predicated on the repeated assurances of our leadership, both in private and in public, that this move would not be a threat to the male only contest experience that so many of us cherish. In the words of the initial rollout video, quote, in addition to our current men's organization, we're going to support a women's organization and a mixed barbershop organization. That's a commitment many of us took at face value. And this general commitment was followed by an explicit promise on the Society's own frequently asked question page regarding contests. Quote, the Barbershop Harmony Society will continue to support men's choruses and offer contests for all male quartets and choruses. And in the many, many articles designed to propagate the EIH program and the Harmonizer, these assurances continued. Quote, the preservation of the all-male and all-female barbershop experience is very much part of the Everyone in Harmony vision. Only by adding can we keep the whole world singing. But now the BHS has adopted a contest format that, by virtue of the fact there will only be one contest available for all chorus and all quartet singers, will by definition mean that fewer male barbershoppers can participate. And while math was never my best subject, fewer means subtraction, not addition. And as for the assurance that the all-male chorus and quartet experience will be preserved, we're now being told that what was meant was that all male quartets and choruses would be allowed to participate in the open contest. This is obviously not what was meant. In the first place, there was no need to make such a promise, since it was never in doubt to begin with that all male ensembles could participate. It'd be like me promising that I'm going to eat donuts next week. That's never going to be in dispute. And in the second place, the words continue and preserve cannot be stretched to mean discontinue and remove. To argue that the promise simply meant that men's choruses and quartets could participate in a genderless contest is to put a lawyerly twist on the promise, and a bad lawyerly twist at that, one that would not hold up in a court of law. And if the BHS should have learned anything by now, it's the sort of claims that can't hold up in a court of law. Boom, roasted. Well, I'm joking. Well, not really. Anyway, what is ironic is that the format the BHS has chosen will include fewer female barbershoppers than any of the other formats that was proposed. By offering a separate men's, women's, mixed, and open contest in which all ensembles could participate, many more singers of all kinds could be included in the international contest experience. I would say to my friends who support the new format, your vision of inclusion is much narrower than mine. But some of you have flatly said to me that having more people sing barbershop is not the goal of your EIH vision, which suggests to me that EIH is not about inclusion, but ideology. It's been framed in the narrow ideological construct of identity politics, ironically held by a demographic that is notable for its uniformity rather than its diversity, young white progressives. I want to stress that I'm not suggesting this is the personal ideology of everyone who supports this change. I know, in fact, it's not. But this ideology is, by all appearance, setting the agenda for the board's decisions. And by pursuing these policies using the rhetoric of identity politics, the BHS has created an environment in which many members feel hesitant to speak out for fear of being tagged as a sexist, racist, or whatever invective this ideology can muster. Perhaps the board feels that younger members support this ideology and they're the future of the society, but this assumes that the views of our younger members are monolithic now and will remain constant as they grow older. And it presumes that until those younger members reach a point in life in which they can provide the financial infrastructure for the society, that older members will continue to do so, despite their strong disagreement with what the board is doing. And this is manifestly false. Which leads me to the two things I am most sad about. The first is that I have seen many young barbershoppers post things about how racist and bigoted those older barbershoppers are who oppose this change. And they are making this allegation about the generation that generously and enthusiastically donated money for years to support the very programs that brought many of these young women and men into the barbershop in the first place. My heart goes out to those who gave so much only to receive such scorn. And the other thing that makes me especially sad is that some of you who support this new plan also know that those of us who do not are not the moral equivalent of racists. You know that supporting a men's organization or a women's organization is not comparable to white supremacy. And yet, over the last 2 years, as those epithets have been tossed around so flippantly, most of you have said nothing. And it would have meant a lot, and perhaps changed the tone of the conversation if just a few of you would have spoken up and said something like, Shane is no racist. He's an idiot, but he's not a racist. Instead, these kinds of invective are now in the bloodstream of the society. And I must say to those of you who live by the sword of identity politics, don't be surprised if you die by it. There will always be somebody woker than you. And the same logic that says an all-male society represents bigotry and an all-male contest represents bigotry will at some point inevitably say that an all-ladies quartet represents bigotry. And it does no good for the BHS at this point to offer assurances that all female and all male ensembles are welcome. Lamentably, the BHS has demonstrated that its promises cannot be trusted. I want everyone, male, female, trans, non-binary, to have a place on the International Barbershop Contest stage. And there are many ways to do this without denying the objective reality and value of men and women as women in our hobby. For those who feel left out, even in view of the currently stated policy which acknowledges self-identification by individuals, I'd love to see an open contest so that everyone has a place. This didn't have to be a zero-sum game. In my view, true diversity means celebrating the male experience, the female experience, all other experiences in their own right. And sadly, the BHS has made the same kind of mistake as it did early in its history. The big difference is, back then, its rules sent the message that some men don't matter as men. And now, through its rules, it's sending the message that no men matter as men. And this at a time when over the last 2 years, study after study has documented the struggles of men grappling with loneliness and isolation. And just when the need for a men's organization has never been greater, the best one I've ever been a part of, no longer desires to offer a contest format that sends the message that men are a special part of the society. And so I have reached the conclusion that the BHS no longer serves its members. And so I no longer want to be one. But this is a fond farewell. I treasure the friendships that I've made more than ever during the illness and passing of Christy. And some of the sweetest friendships I have made have been with the people who most passionately see things differently than I do. I'm walking away from an organization, but not from these friendships, and not from Barbershop. One of the greatest blessings of the pandemic has been the realization that the BHS is not Barbershop. I love the sound of ringing chords more than ever, and whatever your position is on this contest issue, if you're willing to ring one with me, I'm game. To my friends who feel as I do, I have one last piece of advice. It is perfectly understandable to be sad, but don't allow bitterness to take root in your heart. Time is too precious and life is too brief. Instead, if a thought of consternation flashes into your mind, do what I intend to do tonight. Grab your Boston Common CDs, find Smiling Through, put it on repeat, and hit play. And so, to the Barbershop Harmony Society as an organization, I bid a fond farewell. And to my friends who agree or disagree, I hope to see you soon and to give you a big hug and crush a chord.